How'd I do? Let me see. 10:22, not so good today. Well, you know, when you come back from a drive from Texas and you try to get unpacked and all those good excuses that I can come up with, little late, but that's not uncommon for me. Doesn't matter, though. Looking forward to today. I hope you enjoy what we're going to do. Going to play with a number of things today. We've got some new goodies here that Chroma-Craft has. We're going to be going into wood stabilizing, going to say 101 on that, pressure casting, and then the new Rustina line of metallic paints from Chroma-Craft for patinaed surfaces. And we're going to do all these different things. Got a couple of different things in mind today. Going to bounce around just because of the timing and the order of things. But I'm looking forward to it. Should be a lot of fun. Yes, it's hot. It's sticky. I don't know what the temperature is, but there was moisture in the camera lens this morning. When I looked at the monitor over here, it looked like I was in a cloud, which kind of sort of I am or was. Caffeine's kicking in now, but I think it has cleared out. That's how humid it is. There's actually moisture got inside the camera. It was on the inside of the lens. So hopefully that's cleared up and everybody enjoys today. We'll probably spend 2 hours, probably be out here till noon, give or take. I hope you're enjoying your holiday. If you happen to be here, I appreciate it. So that'll be good. Let me jump over here and get the comment column up and going. All right, we're set there. Got that. I'm going to say good morning here. Just to make sure the comment column is working. All right. Good morning, Lewis. I'm my usual prompt plus 22 self. Appreciate you coming in. It's going to be fun. I don't know if you heard me talking a little bit ago, just a few minutes. Going to work with stabilizing 101, pressure casting a little bit, working with the new Rustina, patina paint from Chroma-Craft. Got our vacuum pump here for vacuuming. Got the different vacuum chambers. All these fun new goodies that Chroma-Craft has to work with and play with. I'm really excited. Also, you'll notice there's no lathe in here this morning. And brand new, because I need to be organized, work table. And I picked it up yesterday while getting a generator for the hurricane that's coming. I've got drawers back here. I know you can't see it. But when I'm not turning on the lathe, if I'm doing other work, I got my drawer. I've got cabinets down here. It's on wheels. We can roll it around. I hope to work out a way where I can work it in with the lathe, either on the side sometimes or if it's the feature piece for the day. Use it. So I'm really excited about this little guy. I've been needing it for a long time in here. All right. So what the first thing I need to do, because this is brand new, and I'm not quite as cleaned up as I want to be, I'm going to take these items off, and I have the box top that this came in, and I'm going to use that for a cover. I'm going to get a polyethylene or HDPE, high density polyethylene top for this, just so I don't mess up this nice butcher block style top. Not really butcher block, but I want to mess up this top. So I've got the top cardboard box, so we're going to use the poor man's version. I'm going to set some of these things off to the side here for a second, and we'll bring them back up. And let's see here. Just do this all neat and safe like. SWAT was a wonderful time. I got back Tuesday night and then had to run around town, do some things for a couple days. These pressure pots, unfortunately, didn't make it to SWAT. They were supposed to. I had to go up into South Carolina, the truck terminal, to pick them up when I got back. So it's been a few days of getting reorganized, but we're getting there. So here, we're going to take that fancy top and we're going to cover it up so that we don't make a mess. What do you think? Of course, as usual, if you have any questions, hey, my mom's here, and Arthur's here, Michael, Steve Daniels, good morning, everybody. I'm going to have fun today. I'm going to sweat a lot out here because it's so hot. But we're going to have a good time. So I need to do things. It's going to be kind of a start-finish on some of the stuff. I want to show you something I've been learning, and I'm learning a lot of this too. I'll be the first to raise my hand. I'm going to mix some resin first, and working with the Chroma-Craft resin, it has a long open time. And I see something over there that's right behind the camera that I need. So there's a beauty to working with the long open time resins, in that you have a lot of time. Say your Alumilites, your urethane resins, you got 7.5, 15 minutes, something like that, and you got to get it into pressure pot. The Chroma-Craft Epoxy is more like a 2 or 3 hour work time. And I've been studying my good buddy Zach Higgins, and I got this from him. This is a digital infrared thermometer. And one of the things you can do is once you've mixed your resin, you can take the temperature of your resin. And when it starts to set up, you can then make your final pours in your mix so your colors don't blend together as much. You get more definition in your colors. So pick this up just the other day. Like I said, lots of new things. We're going to try this. So what I have to do is I got to mix some resin first. We're going to take the temperature of it, and then while I'm working on stabilizing and different things, we're going to check the temperature of that resin. And as it starts to show that the chemical reaction is starting to take place, then we're going to go ahead and mix our resin together and put it in the pressure pot. So we're going to do things in kind of a juxtaposition order this morning, but that should be a lot of fun. Now, since I am over here and I used Chroma-Craft resin, I used a quart at every single woodworking show, I've got all these excess bottles that have a little bit in them. So I decided today was going to be the day that we're going to drain out all these bottles while we talk and make up our resin batch. And I have more A's than B's. Hate to waste the stuff. I mean, it's not super expensive, but it's not. Oh, notice my new turning smock, the Chroma-Craft. We call it the wrapper. This one has the red body and the black sleeves. I also have them in the black body with the red sleeves. They were a big hit at SWAT. Sold at least half, if not more, of what we took down there. We got no complaints about that at all. So first thing I want to do is just do a little pouring up of these resins. And I'm going to use the fancy Daisy cups. We save all our cups. I really do think there's a lot of ways you can save money. You can buy the metered mixing cups and all that, and they're great. But for just routine things, use whatever you got around. We save all our yogurt cups and glasses from like the deli, Dunkin' Donuts. Bridget likes Dunkin' Donuts iced coffee, and it has a built-in tenon in the bottom. You get just to where it will drain on its own. There we go. So they work they're the perfect thing for casting up a piece to turn, and you don't have to make a tenon. So I got my A's on the left, my B's on the right. So like I said, I do think I'm a little short on the B's, but I have a gallon of it back here. So I'm going to toss that in that magic waste basket over there. Now, while I'm getting all this together, and I'll measure this obviously before we start to mix. Any kind of questions, pop over here in the screen for me, and I'd be happy to cover them for you. It's just time to use this stuff up. That one's just about there. All right, so what I'm going for is a 2-to-1 ratio. So instead of getting crazy, remember I talked about the yogurt cups? Okay, so this is going to be one yogurt cup of hardener, 2 yogurt cups of resin. So that's all the B component that I had in small jars. And I see that I'm about a half a batch short. Okay. So I'm going to bring up my gallon bucket. I got all kinds of stuff squirreled away back in here today. Some resins are 2-to-1, some are 1-to-1. And Chroma-Craft epoxy that I'm using here is by volume, not by weight. Alumilite, if you use Alumilite, it is by weight for measuring, and it does make a difference. So I'm going to go ahead and pull out of my big pail here and get, there's different little lines right at the top of your yogurt cups. These things are awesome because you can be quite precise with your mixes. All right, so that's plenty of the B. We're set there. That guy's still draining down. Going to get another one going here. I'm going to start pouring some of these into the cups as well, because I need 2 of these full. And this is the slow part, but we'll get there. Now, in the summer, it was a lot hotter out here. I mean, I'm grumbling, but mostly because it's humid. It's really not that hot. In the summer, I was working, I don't know if you remember, I was working with the gel resin, and it was 95 in here with the AC on. And the gel resin was so warm that it wasn't really a gel anymore. It was almost a liquid. All right. I'm going to call that good because I don't have all day. Sometimes people say, well, what's the difference between the epoxy and the urethane? Other than the timing, one of the big factors, and this is what my good friends at Chroma-Craft tell me, is that in this high humidity, the epoxy is not affected by it, or at least not nearly as much as a urethane resin. I've got no qualms with the urethane resin, but it is affected by humidity much more so. Can make it cloudy, can make it do a lot of different things. So I'm quite happy to work with the epoxy. Turns great. I mean, it was engineered for turning. I bet you this and that over there is going to get us close. When I was on the road mixing this, one of the things that happened was this was really cold. It would be in the tractor trailers during the winter, January, February, March, and this would pour about like a gel. It was really thick, and I didn't always get an exact mix, but it's still, as long as you're close with your ratios, you're fine. All right, that one's getting real close. And this will be fun. Like I say, I've not used my little, let's see, just as I'm for fun. So I'm pouring this out. This is 84 degrees. The resin just sitting here. That one's a little cooler, so for some reason, 75. Interesting that then this little guy is instant. I don't know if you can see the numbers there. It reads instantly. So it's kind of curious to see. And you can set references on it. Yes, I raised my hand. I confess that I bought this at Harbor Freight. It was the top of the line at Harbor Freight. It was $56. Let's see what's going on in here. Okay. And let's pour this off now. And what I'm going to do is I'll mix the resin all together, and then I'll make up a couple of distinct colors. And then we're going to watch the temperature as we go through the morning here. All right. So we're going to need plenty more of that. I'll let that sit again. I don't want to spend all day. Don't you like my fancy tabletop cover here? They say necessity is the mother of invention, right? I still need to drain some of these later on. It's good to use this product. It's been out on the road. It's been essentially frozen and thawed about a dozen times over the course of the winter. So projects like this that I'm working on, if it doesn't do what it's supposed to just right, that's okay. It's good for demonstration purpose. All right, I'm still going to drain some of these later, I can see, because they're going slow. But we're getting real close to our mix here. If I change it over, where's my clicker? I don't know if you can see down in the cups or not. The side shot, that's the overhead. We're almost full on this one, or to the point, to our magic mark. All right, we now have a 2-to-1. There's still a little bit in that one. I think I'll drain all of these at another time. That one still got quite a bit in it. Okay, good deal. When I'm humming, I'm having fun. Hey, Jerry. How you doing, buddy? All right. I'm going to pour our 2 of the regular resin components in here. Let them drain. I can't wait for fall here in South Georgia. The gnats will go away. The temperature will be much nicer. All right. Put this in the magic trash can. And I'll go with the overhead here. This epoxy is a little bit amber. Chroma-Craft is developing a water clear that will be out very shortly. They've been working on it for a while. They like to make sure things are just right. They don't want to do it halfway. Okay. Now, I'm going to use my fancy mixer. It's called a screwdriver. You guys know how I roll. Get this mixed up. Mix it up really well. Then, like I said, I'm going to divide this into 3 colors, or 3 more containers, and make colors of those, and then we'll watch those. I'm kind of curious to see how this temperature works, because the bigger the mass, the sooner the exotherm starts to happen, and it starts to create its own heat with the catalyst in it. Now, I've watched, like, say, my friend Zach, and he'll watch it up to about 190 degrees, and then he immediately throws it in his pressure pot. I don't know. I haven't measured the temperatures on this before, so I don't know where that point is. But I'm going to watch it, and when it starts rising, and you may have to remind me to check it every once in a while. I get carried away in something else. Remind me to check it, and when it starts to get up there, then we'll go ahead and make our pour into our fancy Dunkin' Donuts cup or whatever I've got over here today. All right, so that's stirred really well. 3 more of my cups. Now these will actually be pretty much full when I do this. You know what? I'm gonna do 4, so they're not quite so full. That way I'm not fighting it and all that. So we put our 4 cups together. Get my paper towels out. I'll be putting gloves on later. I should have them on sometimes, but to start with, wipe some of this mess up. You can see I'm going to make a mess today, but that's all right. Let's pour this off into our 4 containers. See, I put them close together like that I don't make a big mess as I go back and forth. And I don't worry about them being perfectly even. I'm just trying to get them in the neighborhood. But that comes out pretty well. Let's scrape the last of that out of there. Making more of a mess than anything else. Okay. Interesting. Don't ask me why. It's got to do with the bottom of the cup. Can you see? You guys see that this one is darker than the other 3? And I'm guessing that has a black bottom, and it does. And I'll bet that this has a white bottom, and it does. So lots of different things can affect what you're looking at. I will have a white top on here in the future, so I'll get a good clear reflection of a color. Using this brown underneath, this brown cardboard is actually affecting the color. So when you're mixing your color and you think that that's the color it's going to be, well, it's not necessarily accurate. These are more accurate than that one. Okay, so one paper towel for the table, one paper towel for me. Now, we're just going to have some fun with some colors here. And I've got some resin tints that I brought over. This is where I need to put my gloves on, which I put my gloves in. Let's see if this is a flaw for the day. It is. In the drawer, so we'll leave them out. I'll get my gloves on because my resin tints are really messy. They're already got stuff all over them. Is anybody there? How many people out here are already doing some resin and stabilizing work? If you are, say so. Say, raise your hand. Say, hey, yeah, I do it. I do a little. I want to do some. I'm just kind of curious. I'm having a ball with it, learning the different things. And there's so much that can be done with these resins and stabilizing the wood. I should take a cell phone camera walk out one day. Behind here, I have a huge stack of wood. That is the wood that I want to stabilize. It had been up in North Georgia at the shop up there for a long time. Some of it's gotten rotten and funky, so it's perfect for colored stabilizing. So I'm aging a whole bunch of wood out there. I mean a bunch, like a trailer full, to stabilize in the future. Now, when we get into stabilizing here in a little bit, I don't have the stabilizing dies just yet. I forgot. I was at SWAT. I should have got some. We'll be carrying them soon. I was so busy down there, though, I didn't have time to do anything. So let me grab some colors here. What do we have? We've got white. We've got red. We've got yellow. We've got black. What else we got hanging around? We have ultra blue. I have some iridescent powders. Got iridescent green, iridescent gold. Any other things hiding in here? In my wonderful treasure trove. There's a satin white pearl powder. So we can have a lot of fun. Let's see. Wesley, you do some. Okay. Lewis, a little bit. You've only tried Alumilite. David, you want to try? Michael says, started but need to work on more. I was able to find the silicone eggs. Hey, the silicone eggs, I was kicking one around here this morning from the last time we were out here. Here it is. Speaking of silicone eggs. And these little things are great when you have too much. Pop that off of there. It's just as seen on TV, make a hard-boiled egg without the shell. See if this will pop out without tearing up my gloves. Where's my hammer? My hammer is way over there. I got too much stuff in my way. This little tap on the bottom. Usually I just peel these back. Usually I just peel these back. And this one, I know I put gemstones in, spin gems. There we go. And then I did a separate color. And I know I'm on the overhead here. So you can see it's got gemstone or spin gems, faux stone on the top, and then a blue with gold pearl powder base. I can get that up there a little bit closer. There's not a lot of good light on it. So when you have a little extra resin left over from a project like this, you pour it in one of those make an egg as seen on TVs. You got a great little project piece to work with. All right. So let's see. Always shake up your resin tints. Give them a good shake. We're going to do a squirt of blue. Got to shake it. Squirt of yellow. This one will make red. And different colors like the yellow and the white take a little bit more to get a color. I'm just doing all these and then we'll see what we've got. White, I know it takes a good bit to make a white. Somewhere, and this is true, and I feel bad, that's my black, I'm going to save that. I have a box of 1,000 stir sticks, but do you think I can find them? Not on my life. Jerry, you ready to try this when it slows down a little bit? Yeah, there's some 60 hertz hum bars in the video feed. There's too many things going on in here, Lewis. That's on my list of things to fix. It comes and goes. I'm working on it. So there's a subtle white, almost a cream color, not an intense white. Wipe that one off. I'd like to go through all the colors first and get a feel for what I've mixed up. See, that red didn't take much to make a whole lot of red. And again, you can see how, because I'm on that cardboard and that one has a different color bottom, I'm going to get a false color reading. I'm not worried about it today. This is not like I'm trying to create something to excite the world with. We're just having fun going through the process here. Interesting. That's the one with the black bottom. It looks darker than it is because of that black bottom. Be sure I get all that color so I don't contaminate off of there. And then here's our blue. Now that blue is fairly translucent. You can see on the stirrer there. All right. Wipe that one off. Now I'm going to add some pearls to some of these. The iridescent green. I'm going to add the iridescent green. I love to experiment. And the resin casting and playing with the colors is a big experiment. I'm going to add this iridescent green to the yellow. And in theory, come on, I should end up with maybe some blue tint of it. So that's the green. The iridescent gold, I'm going to add to the white. Oop, that'll be plenty of that. You should use a little spoon. I always say that, and I never do. And then the satin white pearl, I'm going to add to the blue. So we'll have some pearls, and these pearls they don't try to combine. That's what makes the swirls when it gets all mixed. All right, fresh paper towel. We'll go through this again. Hey, Kevin McCon, how you doing, buddy? All right, let's stir these guys up. This white, we probably won't see the gold too much until we mix it in our final piece, because it takes another color for it to bounce off of, for it to show up. So once we get all these mixed, we're going to take the temperature and we're going to set them off to one side here. And like I said, we have a 2 to 3 hour open time in theory. Now, obviously, we're not going to wait. We might wait till the end. We might cast these the very last thing. But we'll keep an eye on them and see what they're doing here in the room. And then we'll be moving on to our next projects here after we get these mixed up. I didn't put anything in the red. I left it straight, now that I think about it. So that's all good. We'll just leave it alone. Mr. McCon, do you have a lathe yet? Are you up and turning? Kevin and I were buddies in high school. We We made some road trips. We went skiing in North Carolina from Florida when we were still in our teens. I know my folks, I think, are in here. Can you believe my parents would let me travel as a teenager out of state? That's a nice iridescent yellow right there. Fresh, as I don't want to contaminate. If I put that yellow into the blue, I'll get a green. So I want to be sure that this is clear. So now we have a nice white, satin white pearl mixed in with this blue. So there's our 4 base colors for our resin casting today. Now, get straightened up here just a little bit. Let's see. When at the time of mixing, 84.9 on that one. They should, in theory, all be about the same. 84.9. 84.7. There's a fan over here blowing a little cool air. 84.7. So they're all just shy of 85 degrees right now. So I'm going to set them somewhere safe. Not sure where that is. I'd like to keep them up here on the table so I can get to them, if possible, without having to remember to come back. So I think we'll set them off on the far corner and leave them there. We'll put these way over here, and then we'll check them from time to time. Put that over there. This way, put this in my pocket. Okay. So you can see how I mix those up. Help me remember, because I don't know where my pencil is. 87, 85.7. Check them again. I'm going to write it down with a magic marker. 84.9, 83. They're actually cooling off. 85. Okay, we're going to say they're 80, 85. 5 at 11 o'clock. We'll make our notes there. All right. This is again was from Harbor Freight. I admit it. It was about 56 bucks. Seems to be working pretty good. I tested it on some things around in the house yesterday. Clean this mess up a little bit. Now the next thing I want to talk about is stabilizing. And I am really looking forward to getting into the stabilizing stuff. And like I said, I've got all that in the back. And I'm going to show you the Stabilizing 101. I've got a couple of pieces here that I want to, or one piece that I want to put in here in the pot. Now, again, like I say, the stabilizing is fairly fresh to me. I'm going to change these gloves out because I don't want to get stuff on this pot right now. Here I have the glass vac. This is the 2.5 gallon glass vac pot, and I don't have the line of pumps that I'm bringing in here yet, but this is a vacuum pump. It's of course good old Harbor Freight. I'm moving out of my Harbor Freight stage. It's a great way to get started, to give it a try and see if you like it. If you decide that you like it, upgrade. Best Value Vacs is a manufacturer out of Illinois, and they make the pots and the seals and everything in-house, and they sell a line of pumps, their own private label brand, and they have some JB Eliminator pumps and things like that. And so I'll be bringing those in as well. So this is stabilizing chamber, as well as this is a stabilizing chamber. They perform the same functions. This one is PVC. It's tall and thin. Typically pen blanks. People who do a lot of pen blank work will be in those. Using those, let me scroll down here and see what we got. Where did I get the digital reader? You probably got that, Michael. Now I got that at Harbor Freight. Ashamed to admit it, but not that ashamed. Okay, so these come. This is a 12-inch, and there's 24-inch. You can see everything that's going on because when we stabilize and we apply vacuum from the pump to the piece of wood that has the resin that is immersed in the stabilizing resin, it's going to start sucking the excess air out of it. And when it does that, it foams up and it makes a big frothy foam depending on the piece. In these, you can see through the sides. In this one, the bigger pot, you can't see through the sides, but you can see through the top. And for, say, filming purposes, it's going to be great because, let me get my clicker in the right format here. You'll be able to look right down inside, right through the glass top, and see the foaming action take place that's supposed to take place today. The beauty of the glass top ones is that they come in, this is a 2.5 or 2 gallon, I think, and they come in 3, 5, 10, 15 gallon, and they get bigger and bigger. I sold all the others at SWAT, so this is the only one I've got here right now. And so you can put a big bowl, and I'm not a pen guy. So I want the biggest one in diameter that I can get my hands on because I want to put a big blank in there. So the principle is the same between the two. Now these actually, the PVC ones do tend to run a little bit more cost-wise because the PVC is expensive. As you get bigger, the PVC will not span the glass, the size, the bigger pot. So they don't use them. So I'm going to put this guy back down to the side. They come with the gauge. They come with the fittings. They're ready to roll. They come with all the hoses attached to your pump. They come with a little mat that goes inside, a warmer mat if you need. Unlike epoxy resins, stabilizing resin can be used over and over. Once it's mixed, it's good for about a year, give or take. So you can drop a piece in and put the pressure to it or vacuum to it, stabilize it, take it out, use it over and over and over, pour it back in the jar, pour it back in not a jar. Don't ever, just reading this again yesterday, don't ever store your stabilizing resin in a glass jar. It will start to set up, glass or metal. Keep it in a plastic container. Some people don't even put the lid back on it. If you are in a warm environment like this, or like where I was at in Texas, any place that it gets hot, keep it in a refrigerator or keep it in a climate control, because at 80 or 90 degrees, especially at 90 degrees and up, it starts to set up. It takes heat for this resin to activate. It's already mixed once we mix it, but you have to put it in an oven and cook it at about 200 degrees. At the amount of time depends on how big the piece of wood is. But after you've gotten all the bubbles out, all the air has been taken out of it, we put it in an oven and we cook it. And that's what actually sets off the resin and makes it begin to cure. So if it's really hot where you're at and you have a bottle of it, it will set up, or it'll set up in your pot, and then you've lost some money both in the material and in the pot. And even, like I say, I refer to Zach a lot. He's who I use as my mentor to study on stabilizing and casting. And he had a whole batch go off, and he's been doing it for a long time. So take my glass, and this is solid glass. And where's the piece I brought in? I brought in this punky piece. Here it is. Oop, that's my fancy weight. I hope this fits in here. This is a punky piece of poplar. All right. Funky, punky poplar. Let's see. Does it fit? Yes, it does. Fits right down in my pot. Now, this is dry. I should have thrown it in the oven real quick for about an hour or so at a low temperature, maybe 100, 150, and dried it out even more. I just ran out of time. My oven's right over there. So I may not have the perfect gig. I may get a little coloration, but that's all right. But these big pots, this is why I wanted to use this, will let me put this piece down in here. And I like the whole concept. Again, I'm not a pen turner. That's just me. I want to rough turn some nasty old punky wood, get it to its general shape, then be able to drop it in a pot, stabilize it, maybe mix colors with the stabilizing resin, let it cure, put it back on the lathe, and do whatever I want to with it, because then I can turn it once it's been stabilized. This is stabilizing resin. Best Value Vac stabilizing resin. Cactus juice is very, very popular. It is a product that's been around. It's well known. It works well. That's a product where Chroma-Craft, probably will be carrying here in the not too distant future. I was supposed to meet with Curtis at SWAT, and we were both too busy. Best Value Vacs has 3 different stabilizing resins. They all are essentially the same with minor tweaks to them in their characteristics. This happens to be their label brand. This is all mixed and ready to go. So I have to submerge this piece in the resin. So I'm going to take this entire gallon and I'm going to pour right in here. I'll start just pouring it right into the piece of wood. Then remember, I can pour this back out. Now, when I start coloring, and anybody else, when you start to color, you mix a gallon of red and a gallon of blue and a gallon of yellow. It's only money. And then you can use whatever you need. So let's see if it's going to take more than a gallon to submerge this guy. Looks like it's going to take just more than a gallon. I'm going to put my fancy IE faceplate that I never use as a weight in here to pull that down. And I am it's just barely above the top. I got a little bit of wood sticking out, so I need a little bit more resin in there. I have so many ideas. It opens up so much creativity with stabilizing a rough piece of wood, something you wouldn't have otherwise used. You'd have thrown it out. It really does work. What the principle really is, if I haven't explained it already, is the vacuum is going to suck all the excess air out of all the cells of the wood. And as it sucks the air out, it's going to replace it and draw the stabilizing resin in. So we're going to make it a solid piece. There'll be no air in it. So when you have the really punky piece of wood, it will take care of that. And once the resin cures, it'll be all solid. Like here, let me see. I just saw that I have these here. Classic burl. Fella gave me these at SWAT in Texas. Classic burl pen blanks that you would stabilize. Okay. Now you can see these have some voids in them and whatnot. Stabilizing will not fill the voids. Okay. What you would do after you stabilized it is you would then cast it in resin for a hybrid cast. And I keep thinking that I'm looking at the camera and you guys can't see me. So the stabilized resin will not fill the voids. Do not make that misimpression. What does the moisture reading supposed to be? Dry, Jerry. Dry, dry, dry. As low as you can get it. Most meters don't go below, what, 6? Some people are really adamant about that and will say that they'll take it out of the oven, throw it in a Ziploc bag, and then run it over to stabilizing chamber. Okay, that might be a little extreme. All right, so I have covered my piece. Now, it'll be interesting to see, and there's a lot of little details. There's a lot of opinions, a lot of details. I try to use the information that I get from the manufacturers. There's a lot of information on the internet. Some of it's right, some of it's probably wrong. But I try and convey the information that I get from the manufacturers about how this works. Can we see in there still pretty well? I'm going to move this over closer to underneath the piece. I know I lost my train of thought there on something. I don't know where I was going. What is the cost of the pressure pot? A pot this size, David, I think is about $125, something like that, give or take. Not a whole lot. The pen ones are more. They're more in 200 to 250 range. Okay. Now this is a vacuum pump. It is a Harbor Freight pump. One thing I would like to show you, and this is what I get from the manufacturers, and I believe it to be true. I'm going to go to the end view camera, and I'm going to see if I can't hold this pump up. See, there's the pump level, the oil level, and that oil is crystal clear. And you want to replace. It is recommended. Not everybody does this. Obviously, I've been reading in the stabilizing groups and whatnot. Not everybody does it, but it is strongly recommended that you replace your oil. It's not much after every session, so that you always have fresh oil. The fumes from the stabilizing resin are going to end up in your vacuum pump. Best Value Vacs will not warranty their pumps if you run a session longer than 5 minutes without a resin trap. And they require a cold resin trap, which makes me think of wanting to run a moonshine still. It's a coil, and you put dry ice in it, and it condenses the resin that's in vapor out of the line and into a liquid and drops it into the trap so that you don't send it into your pump. I do read a lot as I'm learning and studying about people's pumps being burned up. They suck the resin in. If they don't pay attention, and it foams up, and they suck the resin into their pump, and it goes right into the chamber, and then it locks up their pump. So that's the thing you have to be very careful about. So we're going to fire this guy up. We have our seal. It just sits in place like that. And let me go back to the overhead. And now this pump's a little noisy, but not horrible. Let's see how this does. Let's see if this will foam for us like it's supposed to. I'm going to see if I can get this down on the floor. There. So the gauge, I'm going to turn the gauge so that we can see it in the other camera. All right, I've closed my valve and I'm starting to pull a vacuum. See the foam? So you have to watch as you go. If the foam gets up to the outlet where the air is coming in, or the vacuum is being pulled, you'll suck it into the pump. And one of the things you can do, so I'm pulling 26 inches of vacuum right now. You can adjust your vacuum with the bleeder valve over here. And let it not pull quite so much vacuum. Like if I open this up, you'll see it drop right back off. Okay. So our mission is to be sucking all the air out of here. So we're going to let that guy fire back up. And you'll see as the vacuum comes back up, that'll start to foam back up again. I don't know how loud that is in the background. Probably kind of loud. The basic stabilizing process. There's a little bit of exhaust gas coming off this pump. It doesn't have a filter on it, so you'll see a little bit of cloudiness, but this room is well ventilated. Eventually, I'll have a pump mounted outside, so I don't have to listen to it and anything else. So our vacuum is up to about 26 and a half. You notice that initial foam was the first big draw, and it's not pulling nearly as much air out now. That initial one pulled a lot. And then once we have run it to where it stops foaming, or in our cases, we're going to let it run about 5 minutes, we'll just let it soak. We'll leave it in there and let it soak and continue to absorb that resin. We'll leave it overnight, and then we'll take it out and put it into the oven. So if there's any questions while this thing is making noise, you can't hear it, David? Well, that's good. That means my microphone is doing what it's supposed to and cutting things out. So while we're doing that, let's take a look at our resin temperatures. 80, doesn't know what it wants to be, 82, 83, no, 93. So we've gone up on that one 10 degrees, 93, 94. So it is starting to warm up a little bit. So we're up about 95 degrees, more or less. And it took about 15, 17 minutes to go up about 10 degrees. Now, it looks like this piece of wood didn't have a whole lot of air in it. That initial pull really pulled it out. And now it's just kind of hanging out. Little teeny bit of small bubbles. I'm not putting my head in the way, I hope. I see it's still pulling some over on the far side there. Let's see if I can zoom this in for you for a second. So you see that small amount of those bubbles over on this side here. So it is saturating all those fibers with the resin. I'm going to shut that off. And I'm going to close this, which will leave the vacuum in the pot. And we'll just let that sit. I'll move it over here out of my way. I will bring it way down here to the other end. If you're wanting to combine your pieces of wood and your resin, and you put a piece of wood that hasn't been stabilized, especially burls are notorious for this. If you put that into your stabilizing or your casting resin, even if you throw it in a pressure pot, you have introduced extra amounts of air into your cast. So optimally, you want to introduce as little bit of air into the cast as possible. So the stabilizing for the hybrid casting allows us to take all the air out of the piece before we put it into our casting chamber. The other reason for stabilizing is if the piece of wood is really soft and punky and it's not really turnable. You go ahead and stabilize it. You may never cast it at all, but you can stabilize it and then turn it like it was a nice solid piece of wood. Has the resin impregnated in it. So there's a number of uses for working with the stabilizing system. Now, it adds all more things to our fun little hobby, but it gives us more creative avenues too. Now, after you've made a couple hundred or a couple thousand bowls, it's like, well, what can I try next? So there's always something new in wood turning that you can work with. And these types of projects are not, it's not real expensive to add another step into these. A couple $100 here, a couple $100 there. Yeah, I know it all adds up over time, but it makes it much more interesting and fun. So that being said, I think the next thing I want to work on and bring out is the new patina paints, the metallized metallic paints from Chroma-Craft. I don't know if anybody has used those yet or not. I honestly have not. I got them just in time for SWAT, and I took some pieces of wood that I was going to use and do some samples during the symposium in our booth, and I just didn't have time. I just flat out did not have the time. So I'm going to get all the goodies out here for this, and we're going to learn and experiment with this together. It's really easy. It's not difficult. So you don't have to be an artist to make a beautiful patina piece, be it a bowl, be it a vessel, hollow form, any kind of thing. It looks like nothing that you've ever seen before, but it's not difficult at all. So I'm looking for my primers. There's 2 primers, 3 colors, and 2 aging agents. And I've got all the goodies here in the box. I just didn't get them all out yet. So there's my 2 primers. And then I have my color iron, bronze, and where is that other one? Copper. So I have 3 colors. I have to read upside down. Metallic iron, metallic bronze, and metallic copper. Those are the 3 colors of metal. We have 2 primers. Gunmetal gray, it's very smooth. And then one they call road rash. The road rash actually has a lot of texture in it. So when we apply it to the piece, it will be bumpy, lumpy on purpose, as if it was an old piece of metal that had rusted and oxidized. It has all this texture. There are 3 colors, and then our aging patinas, which once we have these on and they're dried, and I was trying so hard to get some primers on this morning and I didn't, so I'll put it on thin. Once you have the primer on, the color on, and you start adding the patina, you can continue to add patina throughout the day, and you will get more and more verdigris as it goes, or more and more iron rust as it goes. So you don't have to do just 1 round. You can continue to do more until your heart's content. And you can mix them and match them. See, Lewis used to work for a cold casting artist. We vacuumed the casting material and pressure potted them to set up. Yep, it really reduced the presence of the bubbles. Patina paints. My mom loves patina, so I know that I'll be taking some of this up to their house when I go up for the next symposium. Jerry, do you have to let it dry? Jerry, I'm assuming you're asking, do you have to let the primer dry? Yes, you do. We're going to try and hurry that along in here. We might push it just a little bit. And then the paint does need to dry. That's why I've got a couple different projects that I'm going here so that we can start things and let them stop and go back and do something else. The patina spray, you probably can just let it work because it takes time. I don't know that you need to let it dry so much as you go with the patina. So I'm going to get out some brushes. I brought a bunch of brushes over today. For once I actually have brushes on hand. So I'll have a brush for each product. And you can combine. You can have the iron, and when you use the iron, metallic iron, you have to use the iron ager. But you can also, on the same piece, have either the bronze or the copper and use its patina. So you don't have to make it just one. You can combine the 2 onto a piece. And another brush here for that one. And we're all good. I'm a big believer in using a separate brush for everything. So down here in the goodie box, what do we got? This is a piece of sycamore. Still got the tenon on it, so I'm not worried about what happens here. And I'm going to put my gloves on. Put my gloves on. Where did I put the box? There it is. Don't let me forget to keep an eye on this resin. When it starts getting up, and this starts climbing into over 100, we'll probably, it's not warm yet. We'll probably go ahead and make that pour. And this is the first time I've done this and see how long I can wait and push it. So we're just letting that sit there. Be my luck that I'll be over here having too much fun with something else. And next thing I know, they'll be set up in the bucket, in the containers. So I've got a couple of different pieces of wood here. This one, I'm going to use the gray, Battleship Gray primer. And again, I've got a fan here with blowing some air. So that will hopefully help these dry just a little bit faster. So I'll shake this up. That one goes for that one. And of course, they're sealed. And my knife is over there. I'll be right back. This is the gunmetal gray. I'm just going to brush this primer on. The nice thing is you don't have to have, because you're building patina and texture, you don't have to have the perfect piece of wood. Gosh, you don't have to sand it. Matter how you don't want to sand it. And I'm thinking because this is so dry that this will dry pretty quick for us. It shouldn't take too terribly long. This opens up a whole lot of avenues of ideas and things to combine to make decorative pieces. I can see doing these colors and then returning the piece for an inlay after the fact. Lots of different things that I believe that you could do with this. And we'll set that right there, and I'll do the top as well. Now, of course, I'm wanting it to dry fast on a nice, humid South Georgia day, so I'm pushing my luck. I do have a heat gun in here, but I found that it trips breakers. Ask me how I know. All right, next piece. I'm just going to take this old bowl piece. It's got dye colors on the bottom and all that. And I think we'll use it for our road rash texture. Is there anybody out there that's using these type of patina metallic paints yet? Be curious to know. And if so, what do you like? What do you think about it? What have you found to do with it? All right. So the road rash, I'm going to dip in here. And just brush this around, and you can see the texture that's in the medium itself. It has lumps and chunks and bumpy. Kind of a funny name at first. I thought road rash, but then it makes sense because it's all lumped up and bumped up. And if any of y'all have ever gone down on a bicycle or a motorcycle, you know exactly why it has the name. So I have lots of plans for this particular product. I've actually got a piece out in what we call the keeping room here. That it's a little piece of poplar, I think, and I've got a bunch of CFAM and things from down on Tybee Island outside of Savannah there, and a piece of metal that was on the beach that is, the perfect verdigris. So there you can see the texture that added to that. So there's our two primers, Battleship Gray and Road Rash. Those are our primers. We're going to check this resin again. So it's starting to move. It's 102 on that one, 103, 105, 108. So the resin's starting to talk, starting to set up. The thermal action is starting to happen in there. So that being said, we want to let that dry. Wonder how long I dare wait. This is experiment live. Do I want to go ahead and mix that and put it in the pot? I think what I'll do is I'll prepare. Nope. Sorry. Let me change cameras here. I will prepare a cup for casting. So there is a Dunkin' Donuts. These are the ones that like I was telling you, have, I don't know if you can see this, have a built-in tenon. They have a dovetail on the bottom when you find the right one. So those Paneras don't. Dunkin' Donuts, I get a lot of things from Dunkin' Donuts. So this has a dovetail tenon on it. Let's see if I can find something that'll show up against for you. Maybe I can go overhead. So it's great because you don't have to do anything. You're ready when it comes out of the glass. You're ready to stick it in the chuck. It's a wonderful thing. And those four are probably that's gonna be about right. And this gentleman gave me these burls, and he said they were stabilized. So I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna see if I can make a crossed piece for that. All right, that'll work. All right, so a little mold release. This happens to be the Smooth On Universal Mold Release. We'll fire it right in here. I see that like I say, our primer looks like it's drying down pretty quick, but we'll go ahead and get this prepped. Now, these cups, when you use these, obviously you get a tall cylindrical piece, and with the dovetail in the bottom, you can't just peel it out of it or knock it out. So you have to cut the cup and destroy the cup, but that's okay. That's not the end of the world. The gray has dried down nicely, so we're going to do something on it right next. The road rash has taken a little bit longer, but not bad. Of course, we did it second. I don't know what time it is. 11:40. Okay. I think we'll be wrapped up around noon here, which is the goal. 2 hours is plenty of time to hang out. Some might think too much. All right. And we'll set this one off to the side over here. That's ready to be poured. We'll put his sticks in here. We're going to put these in there at an angle when we pour it. We'll adjust that when the time comes. And we will paint this in metallic copper and metallic bronze. We'll do a blend. We'll do a mix. Okay. Now I'm going to put it on fairly thin. Let me see. I should probably go overhead here for you. And what I'm going to do is this is how I like to do things. I'm going to leave the spots. I'm not going to cover it completely because I'm going to come back with the other one with the bronze. This is the copper. I'm going to come back with bronze and mix the two. Okay. Pull that down a little bit thinner. So, not a complete coat. This is just, like I say, I'm having fun experimenting. All right. We're going to put both of those colors on there. Might even put some iron on the top. You never know. You never know. All right. Bronze is next. And what I didn't do in gray before, I'll do now with the bronze. Grab it by the tenon. And we'll put some bronze up here. See that? There we go. And come down in here. Start to work it around. What's nice is I have the ultimate resource. Chroma-Craft, of course, is about 20 miles from me, 30 minutes. And as is now Nick Agar. And these are Nick Agar signature products. So when I go over to Chroma-Craft, I run into Nick, and I can pick his brain just before I went to SWAT, we were sitting there on the back of the van for about a half an hour talking about a lot of different things and turning. So it's wonderful to have a resource like that so close at hand, without having to go wait for a symposium or something to go to run into the manufacturer and the designer of these kind of products. Okay, so I'm going to set that and let it start to dry. Now over on the road rash, which looks almost dry, I'm going to go ahead and put the iron on it. And I may combine some things on it as well. So here's our road rash. It could be a little drier. I'm just going to push this a little bit. Take a paper towel, kind of wipe down the excess. Just because of time. Nothing's going to really dry in this environment today. Your towel doesn't dry for 4 days around here. That is the metallic iron, which is gray in color. Get some of the good stuff off the bottom there. Okay, and we'll give this a coat. Now this is gray. We'll coat this guy up. Now, when this dries and we hit it with the oxidizer, it should oxidize to metal. And talking to Don, he said it really is actual. It creates iron in the true form. So we'll close that guy back up. All right, set these over here. I'm going to let both of these dry, and I think I'm going to go ahead and we'll go ahead and get our stuff in the pressure pot for our casting, and then we'll come back to these. So we're going to let these dry. I will set them just out of the way, and we'll bring those back. Okay. Here's our cast mold and our pressure pot. Now, let me see how I can do both of these here. This is a new pressure pot line for us. California Air. This is a fantastic pressure pot. This is a 5-gallon pressure pot. You can actually, I haven't tried it, but I was reading, you can actually drop a 5-gallon bucket down inside of this, which is great because a lot of times you might want to do multiple things and make a bucket or a dropping device, a basket, if you will. So you could take a 5-gallon bucket and make a basket out of it. It comes complete with the regulator, with the pressure gauge. I added the hose, has all the fittings. What is nice about this pot, I had a Harbor Freight, and I may not have left the air off of this thing yet. Let me see here. So no, it's still sitting on 60 pounds. So I didn't bleed this air off. Point it the other way. Just trying to cover the microphone there for you. These fantastic locks for the top. Super secure. It comes out of the box ready to go. Has its own built-in regulator. Can be pumped up to 80 pounds. Some of the resins like to be pressurized at 70. The more pressure, the less chance of bubbles. And we are pressurizing this to get rid of any extra bubbles that are in our mixes. When we mix the resins, when we add ingredients, when we make the pour, we're adding air. If I was to take any of these resins now, I could take those resins and put them in the vacuum chamber and suck the air out of them, and they would foam for a minute. Then if I was to take some glitter and pour some glitter into it and stir it, I would have added air back into it again. So we're injecting air into the resin just by mixing and adding components. The pressure pot, when we put the resin that's already mixed all in the pressure pot, we fire the pressure to it, it compresses any air bubbles that are there down to zero size. I read a long article on it on the airplane one time and decided the best thing to say is that they're just gone. It's a super heavy duty. I got a pallet full of them for swap, and they didn't make it, but they're all sold. So I have another pallet full coming. Super heavy duty, holds 5 gallons. It's on wheels. It's a wonderful thing. I've been really happy with it. I've been wanting to have a line of these in for Chroma-Craft, and now we have them. And there's Derek. Derek, how you doing, buddy? We're on pressure pots. We were doing stabilizing earlier. I had your stabilizing chamber out here a bit ago, but now we're getting ready to pressurize. So we're going to just leave these 2 little guys in here sideways. It's going to be kind of a, if I can get them to cooperate, maybe if I go like that, that'll work. It's going to be a bit of a hybrid. And I don't mind about that sticking out the top at all. So I'm going to pull these colors around here. Yeah, these are getting warm to the touch now. And so remember, we started out at 85 degrees. And I'll go overhead now for this. Get the spot in the right spot. 123. 119. 130. That red one's going for some reason. 135. So the red and the white are the hottest. All right. So I'm going to start to pour. I'm going to pour some yellow. You get just over here more where you can see. And white. Now I'm going to kind of mix this as I go. I'm going to go mix it, go back and forth around the different colors. And then I'll go with my blue, the satin white, and the red. Back to the blue. And now this will start to set up even faster because the mass is going to be larger. All right. And so by holding it off to the side until it started to chemically activate, it will set up much faster. And because the mass is going to be larger, that will increase it even more so. So we're making an ice cream swirl here. And I'm going to change to the front camera. I think you can be able to see the colors. So you can see the color. I can't zoom that one in, but you get the idea. So you can see the distinct yellows, reds, blues. Finish off the reds, more yellow. And the goal here, again, is to have our distinct color swirls without having a resin that we had to have in the pot in 7.5 minutes. Okay? So we've had lots of time. Obviously, we've been here for 2 hours. Now, these little stobs sticking out the top, that doesn't bother me when I make my hybrids. They may get turned off in this case, but when they're really weird, I just let that hang out there. This makes me want to go down and get some ice cream afterwards here. Again, I'll pour all the resin. So my whole mix is going into our project here. which is great. That I think that's about all of it. There's a little bit of yellow. One last splash of yellow on top here will drip out. Now what I'll do, if I'm not being in the middle of a hurricane, tomorrow I'll pop this out of the pot and I'll post a picture on the Chroma-Craft page, and I'll put it on my personal page too, so you can see what came out of it. Now I don't have any kind of a basket thing in here yet, and I don't really want to. It's Teflon line, but I just don't want to get it dirty yet. I know what. Let's see, I'm going to walk over here real quick out in front of you guys, in front of the camera. I know it's taboo, and I'm going to grab this little guy. Yeah, that fits. You may remember this from Monday Methods a little while back. This is the one where I did the poured deep inlay with the spin gems and the resin. I haven't finished it. We did turn it at swap, and you can get an idea of what it's starting to look like. But I need something to put this cup in, and so I'm going to put it in the middle of this. It's just going to get turned again in the middle. So this guy will go into the pot like so. I'll give you a shot of that from overhead. So there it is in the pot, hanging out, set the jet. We put our lid back on. Another thing you can do, like over in the shop, I will mount one of these horizontally on the wall, up, above. So you can put a shelf in it, mount it horizontally, and so instead of having to drop things in from the top, you can drop them in from the side. There are some really nice ones out there. There's one that I have my eye on, and someday, if you hear me say that I got my X11 pressure pot, you know that I'm doing really good, because the thing costs $4,000. But it's huge, and it has a hinged door that sits on its side, and it has its own heater and all that good stuff. So these big wing nuts, big giant bolts, this thing is really safe. Again, it's rated to operate at 80 pounds. So you'd have to mess up pretty bad. I mean, anything is possible. It has a safety valve right here. I've got it at 60 pounds right now. Nice, keep going around. Get that good and snug. This protects all your gauges and your fittings. So if something was to inadvertently fall over in your shop, not that that would ever happen, it won't break all your good stuff. Okay. And I'm going to hook up to my air hose. I like this extra piece of hose. Just gives me a little more flexibility. Then I'll open my valve right here. Close that one. And begin to pressurize. And this will climb up to 60 pounds. And I got a little teeny air compressor over there, so it'll take a little while. But it'll shut off, and that'll pressurize up to 60 pounds. And we'll be all good. Let's see here. All right, so that's pressurizing up nicely. So we have our casting done. It's out of the way. Let's go and grab our pieces, and I'm going to spray the... Let me get my gloves. New gloves. Good thing I used this piece of cardboard on my fresh new table, isn't it? And we'll add the aging spray to our two pieces from the Rustina product. Get glove back up again. I do appreciate you folks hanging out with me for going on 2 hours now. I have so much fun, and I try and get as much information out here to you as I possibly can. Sometimes I run a little long, but you can't rush a good thing, right? So I usually make an announcement when I get that out there. Now the iron isn't dry on that, but this looks dry. So let's start to see what happens here. This is the aging solution, and the best way for me to do it is probably to spray it like so. It takes a little while for it to act. But you just spritz it on. And this is the first time, like I said, I've used it. I didn't have the chance to use it while I was in Texas, because I picked it up the day before I started driving to Texas. So we'll see if that starts how that starts to go. I'm going to go ahead and spray some on the iron as well, even though it's not dry. I might be pushing it a little bit. Let's see how our iron starts to do. I got hundreds of unfinished pieces from the woodworking shows, so I have a whole lot of material to work with to do this process too. It may be so humid today that it's not going to dry fast enough. That is the process, though. I'd like to see it. I wish it would be going faster for you. And talking with Chroma-Craft, talking with Don and Nick, you can do this. You can come back throughout the course of the day after it dries, and you can do it again. And the more you add, the more it will patina, the more it will change. Okay. We may just have to save these for a picture post, since it's 12 o'clock and we've been here plenty long. That is how you apply. And we'll make it be a mystery. We'll make it be a mystery on how these two pieces came out. You can be sure, you know me, I'm going to post the pictures. And I'll come out here throughout the day and apply more patina to them, more aging patina, and take care of that. So I will post the pictures of them and what I'll do is I'll take a picture after this round when that dries, and then I'll continue to add more of the patina and take pictures as that dries, and I'll put them up on the Chroma-Craft page. So you can see that, probably my personal page too, and up on Instagram. So you can see what came from this this session, because like I say, we're kind of out of time. I will post this piece when it comes out of the pot, and as soon as I got to lathe in the other shop, but I'll get it turned here before too terrible long. We'll see what that looked like. I really do appreciate everybody hanging out with me this morning. It's been a lot of fun talking about stabilizing with our stabilizing chamber. That piece is over here just soaking away. So we'll do something with that in the future here. Monday Methods has 3 more. I think I'll be here 3 more Mondays, and then I am gone to Turning Southern Style. If any of you guys are in the South or want to come down, Turning Southern Style is going to be a nice event. Chroma-Craft will be there with its retail booth set up. David Ellsworth, Stu Batty, a number of other turners are the featured turners there. It's in North Georgia. It's a nice time of year to be in North Georgia in September. You guys ought to come. We got plenty of room. Be a good time. So I'm going to wrap this up, and I'm going to check one more time for any questions that anybody might have. For shipping purposes, are the products considered hazardous? As far as the Rustina, it can go. It is not considered a hazardous, I don't believe. Let me double check. I talked to Don about that, and he said it can just go regular. So I can send it to you in the mail, in the air, up in Canada, Wesley, without any trouble. It doesn't have any flammable issues on it that I see. You're not supposed to drink it or swallow it, but it doesn't say that it'll blow up. So we should be able to take care of that for you. Okay, guys and gals, mom and dad, all my friends, I thank you very much. I appreciate it. I'm going to sign off here. We'll see you next Monday. I'll get a post up of what it's going to be about. I don't know. I make it up on the weekend. Thank you again, and have a good rest of your holiday, and be careful and be safe. Goodbye.